Tanse. I'm Chris Nachkite. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The chief of the Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation in southern Saskatchewan says police are still searching for what he says are suspects. This follows the death of 2 women and 2 men found in a home on the north side of the First Nation on Tuesday morning. Chief Ashapi also says the File Hills Police Service is currently patrolling the nation to make sure everyone is safe. Saskatchewan RCMP say they are still not able to name the 4 victims as they are still working with the Saskatchewan Coroner Service and the families.
When the File Hills Police Service arrived at the residence, they located 4 individuals deceased inside and immediately determined the circumstances to be suspicious. As a result, the Saskatchewan RCMP Major Crimes Branch was contacted to assist and has since taken carriage of the investigation. At this point, we do believe that the residence was targeted.
Saskatchewan RCMP are still determining whether the Carry the Kettle and Zakame Anishinaabe incidents are related, and if 29-year-old Keegan Panapakisik is involved in the 4 deaths. Panapakisik was arrested by Regina police in the city early Wednesday morning and was the lone suspect named by RCMP. He is alleged to have been part of a firearm incident in Zakame Anishinaabe on Tuesday afternoon, about 4 hours after police found the 4 deceased in CTK. Panapakisik has been charged with 1 count of pointing a firearm and 1 count of possession of a firearm. Regina police also arrested 2 other people Wednesday morning but did not release their names. On Tuesday, Cowasis and Ochapowace First Nation west of Zakame named 2 suspects, Panapakisik and a female suspect, as peoples of interest following the firearm incident, but RCMP has not named that female suspect. Meanwhile, Carry the Kettle has lit a 4-day healing fire, and its hall and youth center are open to offer mental health assistance and support. In a statement, Chief Ashapi said police have received many leads in the investigation. He added, "I want to send a special thanks to all those that have come to sit with us last night, prayed for us, and the calls and messages. To my other family nations, we appreciate all the reach-outs, support, and most importantly, the love we have felt in the last 24 hours. RCMP Major Crimes remains on scene in CTK and continues their investigation this week." And you can read more about this story from our web reporter Leanne Saunders by going over to our website at aptnnews.ca. The Saskatchewan Coroner Service will hold an inquest into the 2021 death of a Montreal Lake Cree Nation man who was shot following a standoff with RCMP. Dylan McDonald was killed by police outside a home in the Montreal Lake Cree Nation, a community located about an hour north of Prince Albert, on December 14, 2021. Officers from the Waskesiu RCMP detachment were called to the community just before 5 p.m. that afternoon after being informed that McDonald had barricaded himself inside a home and was armed with a gun. According to the Saskatchewan RCMP, the 28-year-old came out of the house carrying a gun, and officers responded by opening fire, gravely wounding McDonald. He died that evening in Prince Albert's Victoria Hospital. In an inquest starting March 3rd in Prince Albert, the coroner will investigate the circumstances of his death at the hands of police. Coroner Robert Kennedy will lead the inquest, who may make recommendations to prevent similar deaths in the future. In the wake of his killing, McDonald's sister Chantel McDonald described her brother as, quote, "a loving father who was misunderstood by the system if they gave him a chance and helped him instead of killing him," she told CTV News in 2021. We are learning more about why 80 educational assistants in Saskatoon are about to lose their jobs. The Saskatoon Public School Division says it's because they didn't get federal funding to keep those positions. But as CTV's Laura Woodward reports, other school divisions are dealing with the same issue.
About 80 temporary educational assistants in Saskatoon are losing their contracts after the public school division says it did not receive federal funding to cover the positions. The public school division applied for a federal grant under Jordan's Principle, designed to fill gaps that First Nations children may experience in government services. It's been receiving money from Jordan's Principle for the past 6 years and expected this year would be the same.
And it's not.
The public school division says usually by this time it would have received the grant.
We haven't gotten any communication about the money.
Indigenous Services Canada says it's seen a drastic spike in requests for funding from Jordan's Principle, saying it's, quote, supposed to be used when necessary. It shouldn't negate provincial or territorial responsibility. Saskatoon's Catholic School Division says it received Jordan's Principle funding for 154 EA positions, and Regina's public and Catholic schools are not laying off any EAs. In an email to CTV News, the Regina Catholic School Division says while it applies for some funding through Jordan's Principle, our budgeting process considers the uncertainty of this and all grants.
The reason that we hired those educational assistants without the funding this year was just on the good faith that the trend that we'd seen over the last 6 years was going to be followed.
The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says schools should be adequately funded by the province and should not have to rely on federal grants.
We shouldn't be looking at grants or say charitable foundations to subsidize what is a responsibility of the provincial government.
CTV News reached out to the Ministry of Education but did not hear back by deadline. The Saskatoon Public School Division says EAs are crucial for kids with complex needs, and without these 80 positions, schools will have to triage resources to help students needing the most support. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
When we come back, we'll tell you about a new economic partnership between Sault Ste. Marie and a nearby First Nation. We're back in about 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ontario Now, where an existing partnership between the City of Sault Ste. Marie and the neighboring Garden River First Nation is now stronger than ever, as economic development will be more inclusive between them. CTV's Corey Nordstrom has more.
A signing ceremony between Garden River First Nation and the City of Sault Ste. Marie signified the completion of the Municipal Community Economic Development Initiative. Officials say the neighbors often worked in silos by not including one another in planning, like an invisible barrier in place.
Everyone in the community was very well aware where that invisible line was, and vice versa, and we kind of not stepped into each other's lane. And this SETI initiative has broken those barriers.
Since 2023, the communities have taken part in a range of training from the two involved agencies, with culture, economics, and basic relationship building at the forefront.
We do a workshop right off the bat to get everybody in the same room, councils, leadership, staff, anybody who is going to have a hand in the work that's being done. And this is a 3-year program. So over the course of these 3 years, they start with relationship building, getting acquainted with the histories and realities, the jurisdiction, all of those kinds of things of their partner community.
We've had nearly 500 applications across Canada, and the impact that we're seeing is tremendous. Not only social impact, but thriving economies that are being built together based on win-win partnerships.
The initiative also comes with a $45,000 grant that the partners have used to study a joint transit initiative. The two leaders also believe this will be beneficial when filling out future government funding applications.
The groups that have been working together on things like seeing if transit service can be extended into Garden River, seeing about what options for industrial land is available in Garden River or in City of Sault Ste. Marie, so that as projects become known to us, we can find the best place to locate them.
SETI officials say municipalities can visit their website for toolkits and templates that mirror much of what is done through the program. Sioux leadership have already begun reaching out to their other First Nations neighbor in Batchewana to build stronger relationships. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
The government of Manitoba has recently made an announcement for a new Indigenous-led safe consumption site in Winnipeg. However, they are still in talks about where the location will be. Tyler Shingus has more on that.
As consultations continue about where to put a safe consumption site, some residents in the neighborhood where governments and organizations want to put it say their feelings are not being heard.
You know, Point Douglas is often the place where things are put.
Christine Kirawak lives in Point Douglas. She attended a community consultation about the proposed site on January 16th.
Through that meeting that I came away with from Aboriginal Health and Wellness was a lot of placating and a lot of condescension, saying, well, you know, if you are opposed to any of this, it's just because you don't understand addiction as a disease.
Greg Robson also lives in Point Douglas. He is concerned about placing the site in an already struggling neighborhood.
This is the only neighborhood in the entire city where you can use. You can walk up and down Main Street. You don't believe me? Walk up and down Main Street.
With a high school across the freeway, Robson worries about the effects the site will have on the local youth.
Here's the thing. Every politician I've ever heard, when they campaign, will say, our youth are the future. But as soon as they're elected, that kind of goes out the window. And the safe injection site, so close to schools, is a testament to that.
The Aboriginal Health and Wellness team is in partnership with the province to set up the site. They say 7 community consultations have taken place. City police and a mobile community patrol have been in the meetings. So have physicians with addictions expertise. The Wellness Center says they are looking at the data from these meetings. Another concern is the number of mental health crises where community members have been assaulted.
And one of the ones that's very scary to me, that has been very minimized, is psychosis. Psychosis, and how dangerous it can be to the individual who is experiencing psychosis and to the community and surrounding members of our community.
When asked about what can be done to help ease these concerns, Robson spoke about the lack of readily available traditional healing.
You know, when we look at the different temples and religious places that are here across Manitoba, but specifically to Winnipeg, you know, it's really unfortunate that we don't have a designated area in Winnipeg for Aboriginal peoples to have spiritual practices.
There is no final decision on where the safe injection site is going to go.
At the end of the day, you know, what it really comes down to is our community's well-being.
APTN reached out for comment from the MLA for Point Douglas, Bernadette Smith, who is the Minister for Housing, Addictions and Homelessness. In a statement that a ministerial spokesperson wrote, 200 Disraeli Freeway is located where there are higher rates of homelessness and substance use, and first responders report a need near the proposed site. The plan is to increase access to supports such as healthcare, addiction services, and mental health supports. Tyler Shingus, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A Montreal and Nunavik-based Inuit women's group is taking the issue of domestic violence into their own hands. As APTN Savannah Craig reports, Saturovit Inuit Women's Association of Nunavik is teaching Inuit women in and outside of Nunavik how to react to intimate partner violence through self-defense.
The best weapons that you have as a woman are your hands, and especially your nails. And those are lethal.
This Inuit women's group is teaching women how to protect themselves through self-defense.
So can you imagine if I raked you with fingers, that would hurt.
Saturovit Inuit Women's Association of Nunavik is hosting workshops in and outside of Nunavik. The group is teaching self-defense tactics for women to react in situations of domestic violence.
We teach in this program, you know, some basic hand gestures that can actually protect you in an assault.
Nancy Ann Gray is the executive director of Saturovit. She's running the program.
Where's my face? In between
Right
your...
here.
There it is. Grab
okay.
it. Grab fingers into the eye.
I'll just pretend.
And pull back.
These workshops were recently hosted in Montreal, Kuujjuaq, and Pervonatuk. Gray says the need to teach Inuit women how to defend themselves signals to a larger issue.
There's a lot of intimate partner violence. There's a lot of domestic violence that's happening in Nunavik. It's also happening, you know, elsewhere in Canada. Between 80 to 90% of Inuit women are facing conjugal domestic violence with intimate partners in Nunavik.
She says her desire to teach other Inuit women stems from her own experience with domestic violence.
I was tired of having black eyes. I was tired of getting bruised on my body. I was tired of not being able to defend myself or my children. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know there's a lot of women that feel that way. So I thought, why not have a self-defense course starting in Nunavik, but by Inuit women?
The group suggests these tactics as an emergency response.
I have no way of stopping this large, angry, drunk man.
And that if an individual must defend themselves, the first step is to leave the situation immediately.
So I'm not going to do that, but I will be able to take care of the children, move them out of the situation, call the police.
Gray recommends the individual goes to a shelter or stay with a friend. But support services in the north are limited, with only 70% of 51 Inuit communities in Canada not having access to an emergency shelter, according to Indigenous Services Canada.
Pull, hand in the face, and find the eye, and push.
Rob Andres is a violence prevention specialist with Street Safe Self-Defense Training Company. He says these workshops teach women about more than just self-defense, including the cycle of violence.
Now, all of a sudden, we start coming back around this cycle where alcohol is reintroduced, the argument starts, the violence becomes prevalent, the victim becomes injured, and then the love bombing cycle happens again. And what we are trying to do through this program is educate women on how to identify it and how to manage it.
The course also addresses the cycle of intergenerational trauma. Gray says to permanently end this issue, support needs to be provided for both parties in a couple.
I know that the abuser usually has gone through so much trauma as well as an individual, and they deserve recovery as well. So I think that a focus on both the abuser and the abused and education about violence would be a great way to reduce violence.
Saturvit will continue to offer these classes to Inuit women outside of Montreal.
So we're planning to do this every 5 weeks in various communities on the Ongava side, on the Hudson Strait, and on the Hudson coast of Nunavik.
So we teach women to push up on the chin.
Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Montreal.
And what we do is...
Thank you, Savannah. It's Thursday, and that means we have our Fraser Needham to tell us what's ahead on tonight's Nation to Nation. Fraser?
Coming up after the evening news, the federal government and First Nations child advocacy groups continue to battle it out over the application of Jordan's principal requests. Cindy Blackstock of the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society is here to talk about the latest. Meanwhile, funding for the Inuit Child First initiative is set to expire in a matter of weeks. This has Nunavut NDP MP Lori Idlout raising alarm bells. As well, Algonquin Senator Patrick Brazo continues his fight to place labels on alcohol products that warn of cancer risks. I'll see you then.
Thank you, Fraser. We now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, despite environmental concerns, should Canada build more pipelines? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at www.aptnnews.ca to cast your ballot. We have a brand new mother tongue teaching segment with TR Wheatley coming up next. We're back in less than 3 minutes. Starting on the east, Charlottetown -10, St. John's -7. Cartwright -14, Happy Valley Goose Bay -13. Montreal -13, Quebec City -14. Sarnia -4, the sun in London at -2. -13 in Sioux Lookout, Wawa -5. Churchill -14, Thompson -15. -15 in Gimli, Winnipeg, same temperature. Regina minus 18, Saskatoon minus 19. Meadow Lake minus 17, La Ronge minus 14. Partly cloudy and high level at minus 18, Peace River minus 16. Minus 11 in Calgary, Red Deer minus 11. Minus 12 in Kamloops, Campbell River 0. Minus 18 in Fort Nelson, Smithers minus 13. Minus 24 in Watson Lake, Old Crow minus 17. Minus 24 in Yellowknife, Fort Simpson minus 17. Minus 26 in Nunavut, Colville Lake minus 28. Arviat minus 22, Whale Cove minus 24. And Clyde River minus 33, Resolute minus 21. Our noon show's been bringing you a knowledge carrier each day this month for I Love to Read Month. Mother Tongue Teachings takes you to the root of Indigenous languages with a quick lesson or phrase of the day. Today, T.R. Wheatley introduces you to Heather Lambert, a Michif language speaker who's a teacher in Winnipeg's core. She shares a pastime tradition of Métis families living in St. Laurent, Manitoba.
Allô, bonjour. Mon nom c'est Heather Lambert. Je viens de St. Laurent, Manitoba. There's 3 versions of the Michif language. We have the Michif French, which is the Michif version I speak. We also have the Southern, where they would speak 50%. Their nouns are French, but their verbs are Cree or Ojibwe. And then we have the Northern Michif, which is mostly Cree. In terms of li pacan, we would pick nuts and the berries, because the nuts we would pick up as a family gathering. Li pacan. Li pacan. And li pacan are wild hazelnuts that we picked and we harvested, and we'd eat them at Christmas time. Growing up, that's what I did. Li pacan. As being a child in St. Laurent, I had the opportunity to live off the land. My dad is a commercial fisherman. He's a harvest fisherman now, so I was lucky to go trapping. I was lucky to go fishing. I was lucky to go hunting. I just had that opportunity to be on the land, and I'm just so fortunate because I've lived a traditional way of life, and you know, I'm so lucky that I could pass that on to my son and to share my stories. My dad's 80, my mom's 74. I just want to make sure that I can, you know, pass it down and keep that language going. So in French, when we use the letter T, okay, so petit is French, but in Michif, we say petit. We pronounce with a CH. Day of the week, lundi, like with a D, but in Michif, French, we say lundi, like it's G. You have different accents when we're speaking. Hazelnuts is, I'm not even sure if it's a Ojibwe or Cree, but you know, I know the French word, and we don't use the French word, it's les noisettes. We use li pacan. Li pacan.
A big thanks to Heather and TR and Niji Makwa School. You can go to our website at aptnnews.ca/our stories to check out TR Wheatley's Mother Tongue Teaching Series. A new segment will be uploaded every weekday for the month of February. And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday, February 6th. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast. Make sure to join us then. From all of our reporting staff from across the country, Kwana, Masicho, Megwech, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Ekse.